I only read one book, but it's a good book, don't you know? I act the way I act because the good book tells me so. If I want to know how to be good, it's to the good book that I go. Because the good book is a book, and it is good, and it's a book.
And it came to pass that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau, his eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here I am. And Esau, his eldest son, did say, Yes, I know, I can see you perfectly. And he did ask his father why he was talking to a potted palm tree. And he said, Behold now, I am old, I know not the day of my death, though I shall assume that because the Lord has decreed it so, it shall not be one day over my 121st birthday. For if I doth live to some grand old age like 180, it shall surely be in defiance of the Lord's commandment unto Noah. Now, therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison. And Esau did wonder why he was taking his father some venison, rather than bringing him some. And his father did continue, Make me savoury meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. For there surely is nothing I do enjoy more than a nice well-seasoned joint, with generous amounts of herb. And he did wink at Esau, in a more slow and obvious fashion, and Esau did smile understandingly. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spoke to Esau his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it so that Isaac his father could get on down. And Rebekah, who was in a particularly devious and conniving mood that day, did spake unto Jacob her son, who would presumably be over 40 years of age, and still living at home with his parents, if this chapter doth follow chronologically after the previous chapter, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison, and take me savoury meat, that I may eat, and bless thee before the Lord, before my death. And Jacob did look at his mother like a dog who had just been shown a card trick, and did say unto her, So, and she did continue. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice, according to that which I command thee. For thy mission, shouldest thou choose to accept it, shall be to right royally screw over thy twin brother. Hark unto me, though, as always, should thee or thy IM force be caught or killed, the secretary shalt disavow any knowledge of thy actions. And she did add that the tape would self-destruct in 5 seconds, and when nothing did happen, she did continue. And with a statement that would surely be quote-mined by every single paedophile priest from now until eternity, she did say unto Jacob, Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goats, which I will make them savoury meat for thy father, such as he loveth, even though there is a world of difference between venison and goat meat. The silly old bastard does not know one from the other, for with enough herbs and spices, and a nice sauce, thy mother can surely make a steak sandwich out of a pair of boots. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death, for he sure as hell won't be in any fit state to do so afterwards. And Jacob, who did spot 1 or 2 minor holes in his mother's foolproof plan, said to Rebekah, his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father, peradventure, will feel me. And the narrator did stop for a moment and ponder on what in years to come, when read literally, the reader would understand by this reference to Isaac touching his children. And he let Jacob continue, And I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing, for surely. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son, which, as anyone would guess, was not how it was going to work out. Only obey my voice, for thou shalt not obey thy conscience that doth tell thee that thou should not be doing this. For had your father, and his father before him, not uttered the odd white lie, and conceived a contrick where he would pretend that his wife was his sister, and then get the king of neighbouring countries to marry her, then we would not have all that we do today. Now stop being a pussy, and go fetch me them. And he went, and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savoury meat, such as his father loved, which was basically any old scrag ends, offcuts, and roadkill that could be found, served up with a ton of spices and a nice curry sauce, with a nice big fat spliff on the side for afters. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, who was built like a brick shithouse, and did wear manly clothes, made from things like lion and tiger skin and rhino leather, with many straps and buttons, and a bright red codpiece, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son, who was sort of nerdy and bookish, and would, if he had been born many centuries later, have spent many hours, days, and months playing a thing called World of Warcraft, and would have been bullied a lot at school. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands and upon the smooth of his neck. And lo, he did look like a cross between a furry and someone in a badly fitting barbarian costume who doth be either attending a sci-fi convention as a retarded Klingon or a gay bondage session at a leather bar. And she gave the savoury meat, and the bread which he had prepared, which was complimentary with any main course meal from the bar menu, which is why Isaac had not asked for it, into the hand of her son Jacob. And he came unto his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, this time talking to a hat stand, but once again not realizing that just because he is blind, everyone else is not so. And he continued, Who art thou, my son? Which is a contradiction in itself, and the kind of contradiction that this book would be famous for, with two parts of the same sentence being in complete disagreement with each other. For surely, if Isaac knew it was his son, why did he need to ask who it was? And Jacob, who was still not entirely convinced that the plan would work, said unto his father, in the best deep and booming voice that he could muster, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according to thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said unto his son, Arise or sit, which one doth thou wish that I should do? For I surely cannot do both at the same time. And besides, how is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he being Jacob, dressed as an elvish gimp, said, Because the Lord thy God brought it to me. For hath thou not heard? The Lord doth do take out, and will deliver thy meal unto thy door in 30 minutes or less. And Isaac, who may have been blind, but surely not deaf, said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. For Jacob's impersonation of his brother was not fooling anyone, not even the lampstand that Isaac was presently talking to. And Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him. That being, he did run his hands over Jacob's hands, and over Jacob's neck, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And I shall be yiffed if I can work out why thou doth have a cold nose, floppy ears, and a tail. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him, as like all religious types, for many centuries to come he did blindly accept that which he was told, rather than questioning the contradictory evidence, so that he would be able to come to a conclusion that was more than self-evident. And he said, still smelling a rat, even though its flavour had been masked with a liberal dressing of mixed herbs, Art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison. And once again the narrator did do his best not to make the obvious comment about Isaac enjoying a mouthful of his son's meat, for surely this chapter was creepily and deeply disturbing enough. And he would continue, That my soul may bless thee, and he brought it near to him. And he did eat, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. And in many years to come, a man who would read this narrative in a literal and humorous way would look upon the author's many references to Isaac liking the taste of his son's meat, and his desire to touch him all over, his mother's instructions to her son to go and grab a couple of kids, and now Isaac's wish for his 40-year-old son to kiss him, and would say, Fuck it, try as thou might, it is surely impossible to read this chapter literally without shivering and wanting to go and have a shower afterwards. And under his furry Philistine costume, the 40-something-year-old Jacob did wince as he came near and kissed him, and he smelt the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is the smell of a field, which the Lord hath blessed. Which doth mean that Jacob smelled like his brother Esau, who, going by this narrative, must have, at the best of times, surely have smelt like a cross between a sweaty leather jockstrap covered in mud and a big pile of cow shit. And the narrator did breathe a sigh of relief, at least, that in this chapter they had not needed to resort to holding each other's nutsacks to make sure that they were telling the truth, and Isaac continued with his blessing. Therefore God gave thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, which was so fat that it was round and kind of spherical shaped, and plenty of corn and wine. And Isaac did light up and take a big pull on his big fat doobie, and did savour it for a moment before descending into a coughing fit. Let peoples serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's son bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee, which surely was the kind of blessing well worth getting all dressed up and felt up for. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, in a scene that would not have been timed any closer to the mark had Jacob's name been Ethan Hunt or James Phelps, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting, completely oblivious to the fact that he had just been right royally screwed over. And he also had made savoury meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, Let my father arise, and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And if there is to be any hidden meaning in this verse, it must surely not be a wholesome one. And Isaac, his father, who surely did recognize Esau's voice as surely as he had previously recognized the voice of Jacob just a few verses prior, said unto him, Who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn, Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, as if he was either going to shit himself or explode, and said, Who? Where is he that hath taken venison, and brought it me? And I have eaten of all before thou camest, and I have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry that did go on for some time, and did sound a lot like the word fuck, only said with such force and meaning that objects around the room did bend, shatter, and explode, as if he had just found out that he had accidentally killed his wife while exterminating the Jedi Order, for he knew for sure that he had once again been completely fucked over. And he said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, Thy brother came with subtlety, and hath taken away thy blessing, thus demonstrating that in this book, which for many centuries to come will act as a moral guide for those who do read it, that deception, dishonesty, and underhanded tactics will surely be worthy of reward. And he said, Is not he rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, which I did agree to trade away for a bowl of lentil soup. And behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, Hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? For instance, maybe the one that thou were going to give Jacob? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him, all by simply wishing it in his general direction. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Well, you could go tell him that there has been a minor clerical error for a start. Hast thou but only one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice, and wept, for it was apparent that Isaac did want only one of his sons to do well, and the other one, well, he could go and get us fucked. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. Which did sound a lot like the blessing that he had previously given to Jacob, which in turn did sound a lot like spooky incantations. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Which did at least give Esau some hope, that he may one day redeem himself from his father's fuck-up, seeing as his father did appear reluctant to right the mess that he had caused by his blind adherence to what he was told, regardless of the obvious. And Esau hated Jacob, because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him, even though the whole thing was his mother's idea, and Jacob was only doing as he was told. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand, even though he isn't dead yet. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. And having read ahead, the narrator did consider that Esau may have a bit of a wait, and that Jacob will not need to worry about being slain anytime soon. And these words of Esau, her eldest son, were told to Rebekah. And she did think, Oh, fuck, what have I startedest? And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, thy brother Esau is touching thee, doth comfort himself, proposing to kill thee. And Jacob did remark that this was yet another fire mess that she had got him into. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice, because it didn't get you into a whole lot of trouble the last time. Arise, flee thou to Laban, my brother, in Haran. Tarry with him a few days, which, when I am honest, probably isn't exactly how it's going to work out, at least until thy brother's fury turn away. Until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which thou hast done to him, admittedly at my instruction and insistence. Then I will send and fetch thee from thence. After all, what could possibly go wrong? Why should I be deprived also of you both in one day, when my plotting and scheming does end up going badly wrong and backfiring? And Rebekah said to Isaac, in what would be one of many examples of overt racism displayed by the characters in this book, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? And it did not occur to either of them that it was in fact they themselves who were members of a family that had emigrated unto the land of Canaan, from a land far to the east, and not the other way around. It was they who had used underhanded tactics to rip off the locals on several occasions so that they could vastly increase their wealth, and were generally going around telling everyone that lived there that they owned the place because the Lord had told them so. And though in years to come, mostly as a result of this narrative, the indigenous inhabitants of Canaan, the Canaanites, would be known for their great sin and immorality, they would not be the ones fucking each other over for the blessings of a parent who did hold by the unspoken but very apparent rule, so liked by the Lord, that thou shalt not fuck the locals. Unless, of course, you are doing it financially and for material gain.